Hi, I'm Andrea Vicari, and in today's tutorial I'm going to be showing you some ideas to improvise on Billie's bounce. In previous tutorials I've been teaching you how to play the blues on C, in C, and that was on the tune C Jam Blues, and I talked about riffs and the blues sequence. Then there were a series of tutorials on the blues in B flat, and that was to do with Sunny Moon for 2, and in those tutorials I was dealing with more complex harmony and ideas around riffs and moving the riffs onto different beats of the bar. In these next few tutorials I'm going to talk about improvising in a bebop style. So this is the first of 4 tutorials on the blues on Billie's bounce, slightly more advanced level, but I'll be referring to some simpler ideas from time to time, but you might get lost if you're new to jazz. So this is kind of for the intermediate, more advanced player. If you play a saxophone or a trumpet, you need to be able to transpose or use the PDF in the key of your instrument, because I'll be talking in concert in C. So I'm going to refer to bebop language in this tutorial and its use in the blues. So what is bebop language? There are many things in bebop. There are phrases with chromaticism, there are phrases with ornamentation, there are phrases that outline chords that have dissonances, there's references to different types of scales. So I'm going to try and look at each one as it's on my worksheet. So I think I'm going to manage first 4 exercises on my worksheet, and the first one is chromaticism. So these all relate to the chord of F7. There are just some ideas. So here's F7, that's chord 1 with a flat 7. So I've got an idea of a flat 3 to a major 3rd, 7th to the root, or commonly known as the leading note, flat 5 to the 5th, flat 5 to the 4th to the flat 3. That's very bluesy sounding. And an enclosure to the major 3rd. An enclosure is basically the note above and then below resolving to the note in between. So that's B flat, A flat, to get to A. It's basically a delayed resolution. So you get 2 dissonant notes followed by one that's more consonant. So I'm just going to play some improvised phrasing using those ideas. So the first one, minor 3rd to major 3rd. Leading note to the root, or 7th to the root. Flat 5 to the 5th. Flat 5 to the 4th to the flat 3. An enclosure. Exercise 2 is on ornamentation. Ornamentation is nothing new to music. If you're familiar with Chopin, there are lots of ornamentations in that. In fact, ornamentation was around in the Baroque era. And it's just really a word that describes a way of making a note sound a bit more fancy. So I've got a series of phrases here, and I put various ornaments in there. So the first one, ornament number 1, goes ornament 2. They're almost the same, those two really. Number 3, number 4, number 5. So I'm just going to do some improvised blues phrases using ornamentation. And so on. So you can see that it makes the notes last a bit longer. In fact, when music was written in the Baroque era, often a keyboard then would use that, an ornament, to sustain a note, because the note would die away very quickly. So that's why you got things like trills, because the note would die. So by trilling, it managed to sustain an idea for longer. But the idea of ornamentation in jazz, it just really gives it a fancy kind of feel. And it does make it sound very bebop. If you refer to the tune, Billie's Bounce, there's a bit of an ornament. I just put that one in, but I have heard many people do that. So you can put it in the tune, and obviously you can put it in your improvising. Just going to look at outlining some chords. So the idea of dominant tonic is quite a strong idea in the blues. So our dominant is C7. I'm going to put a flat 9 in there. And when you get a flat 9, the top part of the dominant 7th chord is a diminished chord. And here are some ideas that you can play around with on that shape. Coming down. And then a little extra note here. That's really an idea that comes from the altered chord, the altered scale. Last part of this tutorial, I'm just going to look at some scales that fit those dominant 7th chords. So we have the diminished scale on C, and that resolves to F. Also the altered scale on C. That's tutorial 1 on the blues. In tutorial 2, I'm going to pick up on those ideas and explain a little bit more the altered and the diminished scale, and give you some more licks, some phrases to fit the blues in a bebop style.